Everyone, and welcome to the Bradenton City Council meeting, Wednesday, August 12th, 2026 at 8:30 a.m. in City Hall Council Chambers. And as we always do, we will start with our invocation and our pledge. And at this time, I'll ask lead pastor Sam Rainier with West Bradenton Baptist Church, great friend and to our city and all of us. Welcome this morning. Thank you.
You will bow your heads. Heavenly Father, I thank you for a wonderful community, an opportunity to use discernment and wisdom for the betterment of this community. And I pray for this city council, Lord, that you will provide just that, wisdom and discernment for good decisions on behalf of all. I specifically lift up all of our educators in this community. I think of my wife in her first grade classroom right now, my 4 children who hopefully are behaving in their classrooms. I certainly ask for your blessings upon every single student, every single child, every single home, every single classroom as school begins this week. We thank you for a wonderful community, and we ask these things in your Son's name, Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. If you'll join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Have a great day. Call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk.
We do not have any presentations or proclamations scheduled for today.
All right, so at this time is citizen comment, and citizen comment will be accepted during the citizen comment portion of the meeting of any non-agenda item, agenda items, future agenda items, or topic of relevance to the city. Comments will be accepted on the public hearings at the appropriate time. So as we have citizen comment, it's for 3 minutes. Please state your name, your city of residence. And at this time, I only have one card, and it's Patricia Simmons, our Fix-It in 26. Come forward. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't even know where to start today. Since June 18th, I have been on a roller coaster. Even before then. Right now, Section 504 of the Rehab Act is under attack. Right now, Olmsted versus LC is under attack. And if those start being ignored like DC wants, then the next thing is going to be the ADA. I know it in my heart. There's a suit right now called Texas versus Kennedy. And Texas versus Kennedy, it started out with 19 states. It's now just down to 3. Texas, Alaska, and yes, Florida. And they're trying to overturn or ignore or do away with 504. And 504 plans allow for people with disabilities to have job coaches, to have 504 plans in education, to have community-based services. Now, Olmsted, on June 18th, the DOJ wrote a memo that said we can't ignore or do away with Olmsted, but what we can do is tell the states to reevaluate it. Basically saying I'm leaving it up to the states if they want to start to reinstitutionalize people with disabilities, which is what Olmsted was written to prevent. And now they're moving ESC, special ed, out of the Department of Education and to HHS. Go figure. How come our special ed students are now a medical issue? They're moving their Office of Civil Rights to DOJ. We need your help. Thanks.
Thank you. I have no other citizen comment cards at this time, so we'll move forward. Madam Clerk?
The next item is the consent agenda, and staff is requesting approval of items A through X.
Through X. Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Perry?
Mayor, Council, I have had the opportunity to confer with all councilors on the items contained in item 6, our consent agenda. I provided any additional information and reviewed any concerns, and I feel that it's been satisfactorily supported and provided to the council.
Thank you. Any further comment? Hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2.
Yes.
All right, approved 5-0. Madam Clerk?
Item 7A is quasi judicial, so at this time I will administer the oath. To anyone that would like to speak during the following public hearing, if you'd please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the factual statements and representations which you are about to present to this board will be truthful and accurate? Thank you. This is a public hearing for Resolution 2656 related to a sidewalk cafe with alcoholic beverage sales for property located at 312 12th Street West.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, good morning, council. Yes, this is, as stated, a special use request for a sidewalk cafe with alcoholic beverage sales at 312 12th Street West. My name is Jamie Schindewolf. I'm representing the planning department, and I have been sworn. Here's an overview of this case that's before you today. The zoning on this property is T5 Urban Center. It's part of our form-based code area, and the future land use is urban core. The existing use is commercial, built out as a cafe. It may now be open. This was from Planning Commission. I think they are actually open now. And they're before you to ask for the special use permit. Here's the subject parcel just down the street from City Hall. The zoning in the area, a mixture of T5 and T6, and our future land use for the whole area is urban core. The proposed request is for an approximately 24 by 15 foot area to allow for outdoor seating. They're proposing 3 tables, 8 chairs, no hostess station or busing, no table umbrellas, and they are showing a traversable area of more than 5 feet, which you'll see in a moment. All of the furniture will be brought in nightly. Here's a drawing of what their proposal is for that outdoor furniture. You can see the building on the top, the street on the bottom, and you can see that they are showing 6.6, 6.1 feet of traversable space between the various, I think the planter box is already there, but between the tables, they've got 6.6 feet, 6.3, so there aren't concerns with that 5 foot minimum. Our form-based code does permit cafes and sidewalk cafes in the T5 district. However, when there is a request for alcoholic beverage sales on our public sidewalks, it does have to come before you all. Here are photos that were taken just before Planning Commission of that space. Our comprehensive plan encourages sidewalk cafes, temporary art installations, and seasonal lighting along our public sidewalks as a means to encourage year-round activity. And then again, makes that statement about the clear space of 5 feet. Our land use regulations have some specific regulations that apply to these sidewalk cafes. Clear pedestrian access must be maintained at all times. No seating or tables can interfere with ingress and egress of buildings or create an unsafe situation with street traffic. and the owner operator shall remove from the sidewalk and place out of public view seating or tables when the business is closed, or if the city makes a request to do so. We do have regulations regarding the maintenance, and an indemnity agreement will be required if you all do approve the special use permit to be entered into by the owner between them and the city regarding liability insurance as approved by the city attorney. This is, again, just reiterating the alcoholic beverage regulation regarding cafes on city property requiring city council approval to serve alcoholic beverages. This is a special use permit. A lot of our special use standards don't apply because this isn't a new building. It's kind of a special situation. But generally, yes, this they're not going to provide a landscape separation strip, for example, between this use and the adjoining use. It's one continuous sidewalk. But generally, they are in a place where this is suitable for the proposed project. It does not affect access points. There are no issues with the building location being an adequate distance from property lines. Staff does not see any need for permanent screening, walls, fences, hedges in this situation. Again, not impacting ingress and egress. They're required to keep that clear. This does not impact parking, does not impact refuse and the service of their solid waste. This has no impact on utilities, and this has nothing to do with signs or proposed lighting. These are reasons that can be cited for approval or denial of the application, the effect upon the value of surrounding properties, if the land is not adequate, general compatibility or appropriateness with adjacent properties should be considered. And of course, there's a number of these cafes up and down Old Main Street. The environmental quality of the district in which the proposed use is proposed and the effect it might have on the quality. We don't foresee any issues with environmental quality. And then, of course, consider the compatibility and consistency with the city's comprehensive plan. City Council is encouraged to evaluate this request based on the provided criteria, as well as input from staff, applicant, and public. And on July 19th, Planning Commission did vote unanimously to recommend approval. If City Council does choose to approve the subject request, we do have these recommended stipulations, which are standard for all of the sidewalk cafes that we have along Old Main Street. And there is a representative of the applicant here as well, and I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, if it's all right, I'll start out with kind of some comments and questions. Was there any fee for this to the applicant?
No, the fees have been waived for these to make sure everyone gets into compliance.
All right, there was some social media out there that kind of put some information out that was inaccurate because, we do have to go through a process, which is very important. We started this as a council probably 2 years ago because we felt like there was no standard on the street. There was some issues going on with some businesses. We had businesses and residents, citizens coming down to address some of the things that were happening on Main Street. So as a council and administration, we came up with a plan to get some sort of consistency. And I believe it took a little longer than we thought, but we do have the consistency and it gives opportunity for us to succeed. So, we would just ask the citizens that sometimes see things that this isn't big, bad, bully government. This is us trying to make our streets as safe as possible for the residents and that walk down there, and also to have some ability, if you do have that bad apple, that you're able to straighten it out in the way. So, sometimes let's, in our social media world, get the information before you just put things out there. And I'm saying that in general because this was something I think is great. The council, I'm assuming, will too. And I know Chief Kramer, was on the council when we started this, and now he's our chief. So, Chief Kramer, do you have any comments?
I appreciate your dream of social media being that way. No, I agree. We want to do everything we can to make Old Main Street safe all day, but especially in the evening hours. I'm not sure if it said what time the business planning closed, but obviously the agreement to bring everything up and tie it up as close to the building as possible, like others do. As long as everything is done in that manner, everything we can do to keep everything safe and keep potential weapons away from people is the best thing we can do.
All right, thank you. Any other council questions before we go to the applicant or the public hearing? Hearing none. Does the applicant have anything they want to say first? You don't have to. Good morning.
Good morning. I just want to say the public safety is our top priority. All tables and chairs will be brought inside after afternoon at closed time. Furthermore, in case of high winds or hurricane alert, all equipment will be immediately locked inside our indoor unit 310. And for pedestrian clearance and ADA compliance, we will maintain a clear, unobstructed path on the sidewalk at all times, ensuring safe and accessible passage for all pedestrians, including strollers and individuals with disabilities, in full compliance with ADA standards. For public safety, the seating layout is designed for keep the public right-of-way safe, clear and easy to navigate. And for sanitation and hygiene, we will uphold the highest hygiene standards, keeping our outdoor dining area and the immediate surrounding sidewalk immaculately clean throughout operating hours. Sorry for my young English, I'm so sorry, but
Thank you.
thank
No,
you
great
for
job.
Doing just
your
fine.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
All right, any questions? No, well, why don't we do the comments after we do the public hearing, if that's okay? Is that okay? Yeah, yep. All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, at this time, we'll open the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak? Anybody wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilman Schuessler, do you have a motion?
Yeah, actually, I motion to approve Resolution 26-56, given the recommended staff stipulations.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Vice Mayor Coker, comments.
Oh, I just want to say this is a very welcome addition to downtown. I'm very excited about getting an opportunity to come see you.
All right. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Barnaby.
I only have one problem, and that is your Nutella crepe is too delicious. If you haven't tried it and you don't want to have any sort of quasi-addiction in your life, don't try the Nutella crepe. It's really good.
Councilman Schuessler.
I do have one question, Ms. Finet, if I understand it correctly, and I apologize, my French is much worse than your English. A petit bonheur, I believe it means little happy place. Is that? It's a very well described place. I would agree with Ms. Barnaby. Your crepes are just absolutely awesome. I know you just had your soft opening last week, and it's a much needed addition to downtown, and we all look forward to visiting.
All right. All right, we'll start the vote in Ward 4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3.
Yes.
Carries 5-0. Approved. Thank you very much. Good luck. Madam Clerk.
Item 7B is the first reading for ordinance 4080, an ordinance of the City of Bradenton, Florida, vacating a platted 20-foot alley as shown on the plat of Hines Addition to Bradenton, Florida, recorded in Plat Book 1, page 215A of the Public Records of Manatee County, Florida, and more particularly described herein. Lying generally east of 9th Street West and south of 13th Avenue West, providing for recordation in the official records, providing for severability, providing for repeal of ordinances and conflict, and providing for an effective date. And the second reading and public hearing are scheduled for August 26th.
All right. Nothing else we need to do on this, Mr.
No action.
Rudisill? Yep. All right. Moving forward, Madam Clerk.
Item 8A is the emergency procurement report.
Mr. Perry.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. We have two items on the emergency purchase report to report to council. They basically were authorized on July 24th. They involve a water problem out on 27th Street and 17th Ave, and that we had to install line stops for emergency water main repairs. So you're talking about potable water distribution and the main system out there. You may have seen it or heard if you were in that area. There's also an emergency repair that's being undertaken that is fairly more significant because it involves rear yard laterals, and that is really just one block north of Southern Parkway on 26th Street and 27th Avenue. There.
And this is all west.
It is, yeah, all west, exactly. And we really didn't have much of a choice. You know, there were certainly emergency accident circumstances, and they had to be addressed. And so we got our contractors out there, C Squared and Coal Group, to do that. The amounts were basically for the line stops, approximately $47,000, and for the water main repair itself, it was about $76.6 thousand. And just as a closeout, I mean, we have been inundated with emergency repairs probably for the last 2 years, but certainly in the last year. And they're sizable, some of them. And so when we look at, you know, reserves particularly, that's where the funds come from. And when you get hit with emergency repairs, because the infrastructure is aging, there's hydraulic conditions, there's weather, there's, you know, the roads are getting beat up because of all the heavy traffic on it, particularly after the storms. Sometimes we can't even tell what the source is. We just know it's bad down there and we have to replace it. And that is a taxing, financially expensive component of our water sewer program. And as we talk about the rates, I think it's important to understand that that's a component of it that has to be addressed. It's been particularly severe over the last couple of years, in my opinion. The first couple of years I came, yeah, we had them, but I didn't notice them nearly at the level and the cost that we have them now.
Well, I think one of the things, Mr. Perry, and I know Mr. Williams, and we did have a meeting with the neighbors over there that helped, I mean, to get them to understand what was happening and what was going on. So I think, you know, obviously administration did a great job with Colonel Lee and everyone going through that, and our engineers that helped out. And but what people have to understand, sometimes there is no magic bullet. You know, that you have to, we're starting with our face it, fix it to move forward on things, but sometimes we face something and we're fixing it and something else comes up too. And then there's also that emergency one. So I think, you know, as the public's out there listening, you know, this is a long-term fix. And we've been able to get the 160 million plus so far on things, but we are still working every day to get more money, as well as trying to just go to, like you said, some of the reserves that we have. Thank goodness we have those to do this right away. But we do have to really look at what our long-term plan is, and that'll be over the next 6 months that we'll be coming up with some things. So we need a motion to.
No, sir.
No motion on this. It's just
My
information.
responsibility on the code to notify you.
But just to notify us. All right. All right. So any questions on that? All right. Hearing none. Mr. Perry?
Thank you, Mayor. Next item on the agenda is a short briefing on exploratory dialogue and work plans regarding Point Park University and a potential Bradenton, Florida campus. So I will go to the podium. I'll ask Mr. Burton to join me, because it's certainly a partnership between the CRA and the city. And Ms. Emmerich is in the back as well, and she's been integral in this. And I'll try to give a quick overview, and I'm going to have a couple of handouts.
Good morning, Dr. Burton. How was your drive over the bridge? School's back, but it's still quiet. Got one.
Thank you.
So I'm handing out a press release that is going out that basically is entitled Point Park University, City of Bradenton, to explore potential partnership for future locations in Florida. And between some of the folks that involved in this partnership on our side, when I say our side down here in Florida in Bradenton, we're dealing with the county that's helping out greatly in a multitude of different ways. Commissioner Sadiq, Chairman Sadiq, I should say, was up in Pittsburgh a couple of times talking with Point Park. We have our partners basically as well with the TDC and Mr. Falcione, that's the director of the TDC, that's been instrumental in trying to explore this partnership, and then the Manatee County Cultural Group that, of course, is the Manatee Performing Arts Center, and Janine, and now Sarah Studios, that's beautifully under construction, I think we'd all agree, and what we call the Avenue of the Arts. And it's a great opportunity. I didn't know too much about it. As you know, I like to go on at nauseum regarding utilities and engineering and things of that nature. But fine arts is not my language. It certainly isn't, and everything. But I enjoyed learning about it. And the mayor invited me and Jeff and a few other folks to try to get, to learn more about what this proposal and this partnership meant. Councilwoman Coker was up there. Thank you for going up. And she went to, I think it was a board of directors event up there, and when it was first being discussed. And so we've done that. This press release discusses the potential partnership for a future location in Florida. I think what we need to talk about real quick is what Point Park is, and I was incredibly impressed. I went up there twice. One was for Point Park, and the other time I was up there with the Pirates doing business, and we did Point Park business as well. And I've talked with some of the folks when they've come to Bradenton, because they've made substantial investments in exploring this partnership as well, in time, money, and the like. But I was really impressed because Point Park is a very broad-based educational institution. It's founded and kind of primarily emphasized in fine arts education in Pittsburgh, and it's a downtown urban institution. The facility has probably about, the university I think has about 11 different buildings in downtown. They're continuing to get more. And as we look at this, it talks a little bit about the economic impacts on downtown Pittsburgh. The mayor arranged for a meeting with the mayor of Pittsburgh, and we had the honor of doing that, and he just raved about Point Park and what it's done economically, what it's done quality of life, what it's done for the downtown vitality, and it's just really, really impressive. They $240 million in annual economic impact is what it does in Pittsburgh. There's about 33,000 jobs created, 80,000 visitors, and they're in growth mode. They have more people that want to go there than they actually can accept in most of their colleges. So let's talk about their colleges, because I talked about it being an educational institution that's centered in fine arts. And what I found out was that it's really a fairly broad-based program, but they have very, very specified colleges within their program. They have an education where they put out teachers, School of Education, and they're certified educators. That great placement coming out of there for that group. And it's a fairly good-sized part of their operations. They have a School of Communications that looks at various journalism programs and media, radio and TV, and they have facilities to support that. They have a business school there, and they offer a BBA. I think they might even offer an MBA in business. But their core is fine arts. But when you look at fine arts and you see the broad-based nature of it, yes, the School of Dance, Theater, and Film is really, and I won't even say it's second to Joliet, which is the premier institution in the United States, because it probably competes just with Joliet, and that's a lot to be said. Where do people go that graduate those programs for placement? They go to places like New York City, Los Angeles, Hollywood. And they also go to places like Florida. And the reason why is you have a great industry of our amusement parks and our ships that do a lot of different performances for cruise lines. and things of that nature. And so it's kind of a natural segue into that. And the placements and the salaries that are associated with that, we've all heard, you know, and probably even told our own kids, be careful about thinking about fine arts because you don't want to be a starving artist. That was the term I always heard. Well, apparently at $80,000 a year plus coming out of school with high demand to do a variety of different services in the arts, you're not going to be starving. You're going to be probably well employed. And so they have things like production engineering programs where they actually teach how to put on, you know, the technical requirements of performances of today. Jobs like rigging, I never knew what a rigger was, but they fly on cables and the like. And they're in such high demand that there's not even enough of them. So that campus puts out some real good talent into the needs for that industry. And it's a high-paying industry. You know, by last place there, Netflix' second biggest studio is in that jurisdiction. And it's one of the leading film states in the country, and it generates a lot of money. But that's that side of Point Park. And this brochure actually has a lot to do with it. I'll make copies of it and get it to you. They have sports teams. They have 20 sports teams. About total of, I think, 5,000 students, staff, and faculty. And their faculty is second to none as well. You look at the resumes of that faculty. Garfield, Lamonis, who I think is coming with Keisha, because Keisha will be here. Keisha Lalama is the Dean's School of Theater, Film, and Animation. But he was probably regarded as one of the top 3 dance directors in the country. Came from Dallas. He ran the Dallas program there, and they had to do everything they could, and he loves it there, and he's just a great guy to talk to about it and talk that language. But, you know, all that doesn't get done without people like Jeff Burton and Janine and other folks that, and you all, frankly, we all have to do our part. And the logistics of this partnership as far as how we move forward is being discussed. There's no finality to it, but there's certainly some concepts. And this press release talks about the kind of cornerstone of that conceptual development is the conservatory. And I didn't know what a conservatory was till about a week ago. And Janine said a conservatory is where performing artists train. I said, isn't that your theater? She said, no, that's where they perform. And when you get students like this, they don't want to perform at an elementary school. That's why they're paying to go to Juilliard, Point Park, and the like. You know, they want to be at a league where it's world class, just like athletes. They want to perform at facilities. And business people want to, you know, do their business in the right venues and the like. And so that's what we have to kind of try to make sure we protect their brand and we protect our brand. That's really important. There's student experiences that deal with that, and they are looking at trying to, you know, do it on a 3-year phase up. That's what we're talking about right now. They would need the conservatory space, they would need some of Janine's space, they need some performance space, and they need support. And we're trying to look at logistically, because if it works for them, they can scale up to a sizable student population. And nothing would tickle me more pink to come back here in 3 years or whatever it is, 5 years, and see the Avenue of the Arts with a bunch of young artists populating our downtown.
And our new French restaurant
And our new
busting at the seams with kids playing.
I want to turn it over to Jeff, though, because he's been working. He actually got into it earlier than I did because he's been working with Janine and Elliot. And, the partnership, when we say the city, it's the city, but it's really the CRA. And I jumped in this thing. It's kind of weird the way I got into it and just try to advance the ball along. But quite frankly, Jeff and I have had some conversations, one in particular yesterday, and we're trying to look at a way to project management to plan forward. And that's a CRA-driven type of thing. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Good morning, Dr. Burton.
Good morning, Jeff Burton, Director of the CRA. All I can say is that, each of us has what's called a hierarchy of need, and I don't have to explain to you what that is, but a city has a hierarchy of need also. And Rob's been working relentlessly on the infrastructure, which is, to me, is the basics. If you don't have infrastructure, you don't have anything. You don't have economic development. You don't have the services needed for somebody to live in the city and work in the city. when a city can go up that hierarchy of need and they can start talking about higher education, now you're talking about an evolved city. And it comes to mind of like Savannah, Georgia, and SCAD, the Savannah College of Art and Design, or Architecture and Design, and what they've done in that city with historic preservation and parks, and taking old buildings and redeveloping them and making it the theme of that city. You walk through that city and you see those buildings and those pocket parks, and that's the definition of that city. It's beautiful. That's what they're known for. Another one is Tampa, and I had the opportunity for a number of years to work in downtown Tampa and in Channel District and watch the University of South Florida, not the main campus, but the medical school and the advanced medical school and the University of Tampa, UT, right across the Hillsborough River, and what bringing those higher education points into those destination sites into a downtown can do to invigorate a city. It brings in young minds, young talent, people who think brand new thoughts and are being pushed to think those thoughts, and it puts them right in your downtown. It drives your economy, it drives everything. It brings new life into your city. I've worked in other cities that did not have that, and tried to figure out ways to entice higher education in, because that is one of those needs that is higher up that chart for a city. That's one of those needs that you really, if you're going to evolve, and so few cities actually have it in the urban area. You know, Gainesville, right in the heart of Gainesville is the University of Florida. It has it, and that whole area is redeveloping. Tallahassee has it. Places like Greenville, South Carolina, it's on the outskirts. It draws into it, but every school is 10 to 15 miles out from the urban area. And that's why when you have it in your urban core, in your central business district, that just brings a whole new level to that urban design and that feeling of your urban area. So, you know, the idea of bringing a university in really entices me to think of ways to help them, encourage them, not only to get started, but make it sustainable. And I think when you can bring an opportunity into your downtown like this, you have to really explore every facet of it, every opportunity. And that's what has been going on between Elliott, between the Performing Arts Center and Janine. Everybody's been looking at how do you bring them, what is it, how do they live, where do they live, how do they commute from one space to the next, all the needs that are needed to make it not only land here, but sustain here. So we'll continue to work on this and continue to try and find all the right pieces to put it together and partner with higher education to bring that to downtown Bradenton, which is, it's not an easy task, and a lot of places have tried. But I think this has a really good opportunity, and just wanted to make sure that you were aware and this opportunity, and hopefully we'll bring back something in the near future that will give you the opportunity to make some decisions.
Thank you, Dr. Burton. As we know, it takes a village when you talk about anything. And starting, you say, why Point Park in Bradenton, Florida, Manatee County? Because the natural fit of the Pittsburgh Pirates being from Pittsburgh, we look at, I think people have looked at the LECOM model, even though LECOM's not downtown Bradenton, it's still a staple in the Bradenton area. And when you say, okay, with our performing arts, the way that things are going, and their board chair's here, I don't know if you call chair or president, but he's here with Janine, the executive director right now. I know that board is excited and nervous a little bit probably because of the opportunity, but some things you have to put out. But you see where Sarah Studios has grown. You see where the Performing Arts Building can grow if it, goes into it. And then you look at, as Mr. Perry said, with probably the opportunity of Florida. Why Florida? You know, if you're looking at New York, California, maybe in the Dallas, Texas area, but you look at what Florida has, and this is what excites me, is opportunities to develop our urban core while still Feld is right across the river. That is one of Disney's biggest opportunities. That's close. That gives students, it gives that vibe. You look at some of the urban core development we're doing, some of the new restaurants, the possibly Gather 242, you know, that's coming along, that it gives that student vibe. Well, why is it good for Mrs. Moore farther down in Old Manatee? Because when you develop your urban core, the excitement's there, then it grows farther that way, then it grows farther west, and it grows farther south. And I think that plays right in with City Park. And most of you probably don't know, and I don't know if it's 70, 80 years ago, whatever it was, but this little carnival thing tried to settle in Bradenton called Ringling, Barnum and Bailey. And unfortunately at that time, maybe didn't have the best name, but Ringling ended up being kicked out of Bradenton and went to Sarasota. Look at the Sarasota, what Ringling has done for the Sarasota area. So the opportunity to explore it now and really see how this can work, I think is important for us. And that's why it's been exciting. And obviously, Point Park has to go through all their logistical, legal stuff with getting their licensure with the state, and they're working on that, and that's coming. There also is an economic study that should come out sometime the end of this month that, you know, for Point Park's brand and Bradenton's brand and Manatee County is going to see, is it? So this is just the exploratory, but it had been gone through so many opportunities so far, we felt it was the time to bring it and at the right time to explore the opportunity and working, because it's a heavy lift if they want to try to get the future as soon as possible. But the opportunity to re-diversify our downtown, what I've seen in Pittsburgh over the last several years since Point Park has really started with this new board and with the direction of their president, Chris Bracelis, they are excited about the opportunity to serve students and what they've done economically to downtown Pittsburgh. We went through a few buildings that when you walk in that are 130 years old, that were going to be torn down. They were actually in code enforcement, ready to be torn down. And you look at the grandiosis of that building, that they've brought it back because of that. You know, we don't have that many of those buildings, but we have a couple. Whether it's in downtown or Old Manatee, we have a couple that if it's opportunity to save, we're going to try. And I think there's that great opportunity. So really today is just that initial, here's what's happening, here's where they're going, here's what they're exploring, because they have to do all of their logistical stuff. And we have to keep working behind the scenes per se, just to keep the process going. So, Mr. Perry, did you have anything else?
Just, as Mayor pointed out, that was the purpose of today, was to let you folks know where we're at. Obviously, the press release was coming out. I want to thank everybody, both from our team, CRA, Janine and her folks, and the county as well for, you know, putting this together. Mayor gave a really good overview. I don't have a whole lot more to add to it, but I did want to request a motion to allow me to continue, because I don't want to get out over my skis.
You and Dr. Burton.
And myself and you probably want to include Dr. Burton in there.
Yeah, but that'll be more CRA stuff.
And it is, yeah.
I think we have to, it's collaboratively working together is the most important part.
Right.
Because there is some steps that will have to happen, and obviously, we don't know what's going to go forward once the economic plan comes out, but so far things have been positive.
And it's really important to think of it in terms of CRA too, because, I mean, that's what CRA is designed to do, right, is redevelopment, and this is a redevelopment project in large part. And so when we talk about it, you know, it reminds me of a little bit about the City Park project, which took me the better part of, in Lance and a lot of other people at the city and in the CRA too, it probably about 2 years to get it off the ground. And that's not uncommon with a major undertaking of redevelopment. And now you look at it, it's under construction. The construction on that'll be done, at least on phase one, within the next, 9 months or thereabouts, and everything, and then we'll, bring it out. But we're kind of at that early stage, and so we need project management to kind of clear these hurdles and put plans in place to address all the issues, to protect grant, to make financial viability, to create long-term sustainability, to work with our partners, to give it to our community. There's a lot that goes into it. That's project, early project management. And so Jeff and I have had some discussions, he'll bring it up to CRA, but we'd probably be moving to use a similar model to project management to that level where we get the transactional documents and the hard plans in place and the facilities in place. And so I'm just asking for permission, at least on my behalf. Jeff might have to do it, obviously with the CRA board, but you could include him in too, to just move forward with exploring this.
Yeah, and one final comment that I have, I just thought of. When I became mayor 6 years ago, probably one of the first meetings I had was with the Art Center. They were in their phase of trying to raise funds and all of that, and they had a donor said that they would give them a very substantial donation if they moved it to Lakewood Ranch.
That's right.
And I'm sitting there thinking, how do we lose the Art Center if we're going to have Avenue of the Arts, which it wasn't, we didn't vote on that by the council at that time yet to change it to Avenue of the Arts, but we were in the process of that. And we worked very hard to make sure that we kept that cultural district with the Bishop, the Art Center, and the Performing Arts. This only grows and makes us a more sustainable, long-term city.
Vibrant.
That the library, everything that's going on and working with our partners, Manatee County. So I just go back to that and, 2 weeks into being mayor officially, and, well, they would give them a large donation if they moved to Lakewood Ranch. And even though Lakewood Ranch is in Bradenton, it's not our downtown. And I think that's where we have to start making those steps. And I think this is that exploratory part that gives us that opportunity.
Welcome to the world of mayoring and
Right, yeah.
leadership. Yeah.
And just seeing what it's
Yeah,
done
yeah.
to change that cultural district.
Well
and-
done by you and
Yeah,
council. 'cause
yeah, no,
it's a
we
beautiful
figured, we
center.
figured that
Yeah.
out.
Yep.
And again, some of it's just dumb luck. Somebody walked in and matched that donation plus more.
Yep.
And thank goodness for that. Any questions by the council? Yes, ma'am, Ms. Moore?
I do, but I don't know if I'm, I thought Ms. Barnaby was
I
reaching
didn't
for
see
her
a
card.
card, so, go ahead. Yep.
Before we make a motion and all that, I feel like maybe we need to have a conversation a little bit about it, because obviously we can't unless we're here, to kick off my questions. And my questions are really in the form of things I hope to see in an exploratory future. The first thing I feel like I need to express to the rest of you is that I am 100% excited about the notion of bringing some higher education into downtown, into Bradenton. Early on in President Gregory's tenure, I asked to meet with him for the purpose of, without a concept, without any definitive idea, but just to plant a seed of, if you can make this happen, if you see an opportunity, let's find opportunities. So I find this all very exciting. What I think that I am, the nature of any concern that I have is process and what we ask staff to explore kind of specifically, especially as it comes with finances. So I feel like I have to tell you a little bit of history to tell you where I'm coming from with the things I hope to have Dr. Burton and Mr. Perry explore and come back with us with. Several months ago, Dr. Burton was exploring some redevelopment prospects of the Tarpon Point and Old Manatee area with CRA funds. I believe when Point Park became possibility, those discussions paused to explore this. And I say this because I don't want us to operate in a void of information about how we are going to finance things and what funds we're going to use to finance things, and how we make those investments. And my vision at the time for that Tarpon Point, Old Manatee area, an area which is, as many of you know, I think naturally becoming a hub for a younger generation of eclectic art. And The vision was a mixed-use type of thing and a connection of the Riverwalk and perhaps expansion of amenities with the Riverwalk, and I found that very exciting. When Point Park became something that I was just hearing about through rumor, nothing very specific or concrete, my thought on what to do with that area and those CRA funds changed a little bit, morphed to incorporate the university concept in a way that I also found very exciting. You know, like I thought, wow, this is such a great opportunity, that I changed it a little bit, reboot the vision to incorporate perhaps a venue. My very little research about performing arts centers is that a university would be a fantastic anchor tenant for that, but also a revenue source for the city or the CRA, depending on operating and whatnot, and ownership. My thought as a parent also who's written checks to universities and sent kids off to college is that area has a lot of potential for growth for the university presence. Very specifically, it has a lot of potential for expansion of a performing arts venue, of student housing, of fine art education, retail. It has the ability perhaps for some branding and some transportation for students in fine arts, because it could, you know, I'm thinking of things like a freebie circulator with the university branding on it to take the kids to the cafes and to wherever else they might want to go. Maybe a ferry stop at the marina right next door that takes them across the river to Feld. There's a lot of possibilities, and I know that this is early, but I say all that to you all because funding is clearly going to be an issue. That's going to be something that we're going to have to discuss. And I want to make sure that in this exploratory phase, we're very cognizant of the funding. We're in budget season. We haven't really developed a CRA budget yet, and I know we can talk about this afternoon in the CRA meeting, and that'd be more appropriate. But we haven't really gotten down to budgeting yet with the CRA funding. And so I'm looking forward to seeing the economic study because I think that that's going to be important, and I think that our budgeting considerations are going to be important. I want to just hit on some points to make sure that we're just giving good guidance. I think that developing the Tarpon Point as a campus presence, it's not a campus because that's not the type of thing that they're doing, but it's adjacent to medical care. It falls very much in line with the Dover Coal visioning project and the redevelopment of that area. I feel like it's very, along the same lines of that. I want to make sure that as staff is moving forward with these conversations, that we are meaningfully analyzing alternatives, that we're not just picking one path and then doggedly pursuing that, perhaps in haste. As Mr. Perry said, there's going to be a process that the university has to go through to make this happen. I would prefer that the process was not rushed and that we give them the space to do what they need to do to be able to do what they do, which is educate, and give us the space to thoughtfully consider where we're placing things and where we're making that investment. I want to also just point out that, I just want to make sure that I didn't miss anything. I think that with the students, with the Performing Arts Center so adjacent to the Boulevard of the Arts, that leaves us a lot of space for things like hotels for parents that come to watch their children perform in their university shows, and VRBOs and that sort of thing, all encompassed in that area. And I do believe that with its adjacency to downtown, that it will only help downtown. And I think that we could get community buy-in for that because of the nature, like I said, of Old Manatee already kind of moving in that direction. Let me just make sure I didn't forget anything else that I wanted to share. I think that their brand, when we talk about their brand protection, I think being thoughtful in how we choose locations and locations to invest in very specifically is going to be important primarily for that particular purpose. I want to be clear that I'm not against the idea. It is actually, in fact, my desire to see it succeed, that makes me just caution us to proceed with caution, do some due diligence, and make decisions based on realities of our budgets and realities of funding sources. And I think that that's pretty much it.
All right, thank you, Ms. Moore. Couple of things. I obviously am involved 24/7 in a lot of the things that go on, and again, it's a perfect reason why I think when we go to this election in November, that we hopefully will approve both of our amendments from the city that will be on the ballot of term limits as well as the mayor's voting power. Because then I will be able to talk more and give stuff that's happening with all of the council people, because it won't, again, it's not to try to make anybody pick what I'm looking at, but it's about giving information. And I've been supportive of Tarpon Point since before all of you were up here. Ms. Barnaby was here before me, but that my 8 years or 7.5 years as a council member was supportive of moving forward with that. A lot of it is the market, is the timing, and I believe Tarpon Point one day will succeed, which actually will help the initial part of Point Park if it goes forward after the exploratory part and they are able to go forward, because the whole thing when we were in Pittsburgh is the walking that we did. It wasn't all next to each other. It was, and with our river walk, and I agree with you on the standpoint of the water taxi, the water ferry, all of those opportunities are there to keep that connection, and that's what Point Park liked about our downtown. It was connected. The river walk is gonna be part of that connection, but there's sometimes you've gotta crawl before you run and even walk, but when you look at Tarpon Point, that's a lot more private development to get, and I know that a lot of that is the market, because you have to have the developer doing it. And I think there was some opportunity, even though I don't sit on the CRA, the city had to do some stuff in it. And, and I believe from everything that I've researched on, there is a win-win because there's different funds that can come through and work out, and the CRA, the city, will have to figure that out. Infrastructure is a big part. Tarpon Point is more of a long-term plan that hopefully Point Park will actually help speed up because of the opportunity to get that. And like I said with Old Manatee, I believe a Point Park in 3 years, you and I are probably just as impatient about getting things done. But sometimes if you don't crawl first and get that first part of it, you're never gonna be able to get the second part, because the second part then is longer down the road. So I don't disagree with your concept, but I really think that when you look at an urban core, you look at any city, and Dr. Burton mentioned some, Commissioner Sadiq was here earlier, he, I guess, had to leave, but he looked at the West Palm Beach area with Vanderbilt. You look at other things that really came into a city. You had to start small, and it grows quick. Point Park, the thing that impresses me with Point Park, with this current administration they have, is how quick they've done things. They have got that city going, and I believe that's the same thing they can do here after all their exploratory part of things. So I appreciate that. I saw Vice Mayor Coker, and then Councilman Schuessler, and then Councilwoman Barnaby.
Yeah, thank you. I had the privilege of an opportunity to go up there and go to Point Park and meet with the administration. And I think what our community is going to appreciate the most from is the way they integrate into the city. It's not going to be its own separate. They came in, they've restored, as you mentioned, some wonderful old buildings. And the way it just becomes part of the fabric is what I think would work so well with our downtown. They're not just off in a little silo somewhere. It's all woven through. And everything that they did well. It wasn't just throw something up or just, slap a coat of paint. I mean, they've restored some beautiful buildings. I also had an opportunity to meet some of the students and see some of their performances, and we are talking top-notch quality talent. You mentioned Juilliard. I think this school is probably one of the top 3 in the country. Juilliard, Carnegie Mellon, and Point Park. And the quality that I met of the talent just blew me away. And I think it'll be a wonderful opportunity for them to be here performing at our conservatory. And we will have those talented individuals here in our community. We can catch performances. And I just think it's going to be it's going to be exciting for our downtown. And I think maybe it's because I have the opportunity in my real estate career. You can't tie what's happened with Tarpon Point to this project. Completely different situation, and I do like the idea that this is a private university, so they can act more efficiently and quickly than if we were to get into a state university. So. But I do think it's going to be a great addition to our downtown.
Councilman Schuessler.
Yeah, I'd just like to start by saying that at this point, I'm certainly in full support and look forward to continuing the conversation. I think when we look at feasibility and timing, it's obviously interesting to all of us because it will be in Bradenton, in the downtown. A couple of points. Point Park that I like. It's an established university with a strong downtown model in Pittsburgh, and the possibility, obviously, of bringing students, faculty, and educational programming into downtown Bradenton is something that's absolutely worth exploring. As the discussions move forward, I really appreciate that presentation, Mr. Perry and Dr. J, in terms of the economic impact, the jobs that could potentially be created, and the attraction of visitors into our area. So when we continue this discussion, I look forward to seeing, those further studies on the economic impacts and jobs. I will say that ultimately, and Ms. Moore spoke about it a little bit, but ultimately what commitments would be expected from both Point Park and the city is something that, I look forward to seeing as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Barnaby?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One thing I wanted to make clear, when Ms. Coker went up, she went up there with her duties as vice mayor. It's not that, she's the favorite councilwoman, and that's why they took her up there. She went up as the vice mayor for the city, and I think that's important to share with you. And the other thing is some of the comments in social media about, taxpayer-funded vacations. That's ridiculous. And that just shows a real lack of understanding on your part when it comes to government trying to improve a community. And I'm very excited about this. Trying to have something of this magnitude in our community, it's the pebble I think we've been trying to find to throw into that body of water that will reverberate throughout this region, I think. And I'm very excited about it. I want to learn more. I want to see what the expectations are of Point Park. I think it's important that we have our expectations clarified and we all are in agreement and understand what that can mean. I see this as something that could be a real win-win, and I'm looking forward to having more conversations about it.
Thank you. Councilwoman Coachman.
Thank you. Points well made, Councilwoman Moore. It should go without saying that those that are in this exploratory phase would not miss getting all of the things that are going on. And I understand what you mean about we may sometimes have a trajectory going on one vision, and then something else pops up and it knocks us, off our seats, and then the other goes kind of on pause. But I think with you making those points that will get the group, the committee, I'm just going to say committee at this time, to also make sure that they are encompassing everything that has been kind of in the works. This is about the most visionary council I think Bradenton has ever had, and it's exciting to be here at this time because this does sound like an awesome opportunity to bring Bradenton into a true city, and a city that's thriving, and a city that is bringing young people and keeping our young people in the area, because that's one of the things we've also wanted to concentrate on. So that's it. I just wanted to make
All
that
right,
comment.
so everyone's had an opportunity to speak. I would like to entertain a motion to let Mr. Perry, in discussion, we can get it at that point. But if we can get the motion that Mr. Perry asked for, and then we'll have further discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll
Yes.
motion to continue exploratory discussions with Point Park University.
Second.
Second, all right, so I got 3 seconds there. I heard Vice Mayor Coker's the loudest. All right, Ms. Moore.
I just want to be clear that my direction to staff is not whether we explore it, but how we explore it. I want to be clear that while I think it's amazing that the university renovated historic buildings in downtown Pittsburgh, at least my limited understanding of what we're proposing is not that they do that here, but that we do that here. Which means that I'm going to have to understand that the money that we're spending to do those renovations is well spent and smartly spent and invested in the appropriate areas and the appropriate structures. Because we do have a lot of historic buildings, and they're placed all throughout the city, and from a planning perspective, I want to make sure that we're doing it thoughtfully and with an eye for what we invest in being good for us, whether the university chooses to stay or whether the university chooses to perhaps explore other opportunities on its own without Bradenton.
And I think that I'll say something first, because again, we couldn't talk before, and I agree with you on that part. There's been opportunity if the upfront investments would, after 3 years, the university said, hey, it's not working, we're moving on. Those upfront investments we still had to do. And I say we, as a Manatee County community, City of Bradenton, CRA, opportunities would still benefit the community going forward. One of the things that if it all works out, that we're going in glass half full, things are going to work out, it's going to work positively, that then there would be a huge tenfold of what we've invested from a Point Park coming into the community to do what you're talking about that would grow that. That's the opportunity to grow it. And 3 years, again, you and I talked up here about this and timing. I'm very impatient, but 3 years in government is like 1 year in our world, unfortunately. And I think none of us want to wish our life away from that standpoint, and especially in the business I'm in, I see that more than not. But when you can get that first initial part for a very small amount, which is a huge amount of money, but in the overall concept of things, it's a small amount, to go to that next level, to then have them spend tenfold of their money in a community. And that's what we're looking at, again, City Park. How that starts that model then goes to that next step. So I totally agree with you on the concept of how do we get step 1, step 2, step 3, but if we're waiting for always step 3 and we don't do step 1 and 2, we never get step 3. And again, I've sat here through the Tarpon Point thing, and I had hoped that was a lot farther along than it was, but unfortunately, the market plays that. And this is a bird in hand that, again, it's all exploratory. We get the information up front on the economic impact, and then I think it changes. Dr. Burton?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jeff Burton again with the CRA. First of all, I'll second whoever said it was Coachman. Yeah, this council is by far the best one I've worked with, and I've worked with a few. Very forward-thinking, working together. It makes all of our jobs a lot easier and a lot easier to gain that momentum, especially in this economy. Number two is when we explore, we follow a method similar to FDOT, Florida Department of Transportation, where they do an alternative study of all sites. They look at the assets that are available, the partnerships that are available. In this case, Manatee County can be a partner, the Performing Arts Center can be a partner. And you also have to look at, when we talk higher education, I know we're talking about one particular university, but there are other universities out there also that have other needs other than performing arts. And if we looked at one of them, we would have to look at what those needs are also. So you have to look at your potential partner. They have to look at their business model. Obviously, they know what works for them in Pittsburgh. It's a very successful model. What would it look like in Bradenton? Any university would have to go through that process. On our side, we have to look at our processes. We have a nice attorney over here that will remind me that we have a number of ordinances and other steps that we have to go through to make sure that we do things fairly and above board. Purchasing, things like that we have to look at. But we will look at all the properties that might be available, all the assets that are available, the timeline that's required, and we'll report back to the board on those, and even why this one more than this one. And one last thing, it was stated that when we were working on Tarpon Point on a particular project for a private developer that would generate increment revenue for the CRA, which is a self-funding project and does not require money from our existing trust fund, how that may have played into or been adjusted by the talk of a university. That's not the case. That particular project would have been self-funded, and all of the increment drawn off of that project would have paid for all of the improvements to the site. That particular involvement and exploration with that developer fell apart because the developer walked away from the project. That's why that stopped, was because the developer that was looking to develop that site stopped. So we stopped, because if the private sector does not invest, we do not make increment revenue, and all of our incentive projects now are self-funded. So we're not looking to spend money out of the current trust fund. We're looking to spend funds from that specific site to pay for those improvements. So we definitely will look at all possibilities and then come back to the board and give our recommendation of what we think the priorities are based on partnerships, assets on the ground, needs of both parties. And again, we follow a similar model when we look at things like this, as does FDOT when they look at how to make improvements to transportation. They look at alternatives also. So that will be done, and you can rest assured that we will look at all possibilities.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Ms. Moore?
I just want to clarify, there was more to the Tarpon Point situation. There were two, there were other players involved in that, and I don't want to oversimplify what happened with Tarpon Point. I'll just say that I kind of disagree a little bit with that summary of maybe what happened and why it paused, but
Can you give us more specifics on that? Because I have the same understanding from the developer.
well, there was a developer, but there was also two property owners, and there was a notion of the CRA purchasing property in order to make that Riverwalk connection.
But at what value, the value had almost doubled from the property owner that was trying to sell it, And we obviously, as a government, cannot pay twice because we're government.
Well, I don't think we had gotten that far in it, and, I mean, we can
As a city
Talk about it
administrator,
more.
I was advised of what the ask was from the property owner. It was in the area of $11 million for a strip of land.
Well, again, let's not oversimplify.
Oh, no, it's that
It's
simple.
more than a strip of land.
Yeah.
It was more than a strip of land.
All right, but let's.
I know,
well,
yes.
We have a
I
motion,
mean-
but Ms. Moore, anything else?
It's public record.
Right, Right, but again, the developer came in, that I thought the deal at first was good, but then he almost doubled the deal, the cost, and that's what killed the project, not, because, again, we are buying a lot of property in the city, but we pay a fair value for it.
I
Unfortunately, this gentleman, and I have no problem saying it, because when he goes from 6 million to 11 million, that probably would have self-funded, and if I'm wrong, Mr. Burton, tell me the cost, but it was 6 million, and then when he realized it was government involved in it,
It was 9
it was
million.
11 million.
Yes, it was 9 million. It went to 11 million, and the ball was in our court to respond, and we chose not to respond and counter. And that, whatever, that happened. And again, I'm not saying that I don't want this to move forward, and I'm not saying that I don't think that we can incorporate the university into that. What I was going to say before Dr. Burton stepped up is, if the motion is to ask staff to continue exploratory discussions with the university, I'm okay with that. But I would be lying if I said that to date, the process has lacked transparency in my observation, and I'd like to see that change. And I would encourage us to maybe modify the motion to include either one-on-one meetings with council or a workshop after they've done some more due diligence and we get the financial plan back.
Well, I do take offense to that there's been a lack of transparency now, because it's all been exploratory, given information to find out if it meets. I know that you have had conversations with Elliot Falcione, as well as the Performing Arts, as well as other council members that wanted it, to keep up to date. But at that point, we didn't know if it was going forward. So, yes, there has been transparency, to say that, and you've been several meetings with them, because that was the important part to me. Make sure to keep as much until the university is ready to say that there is that next step. Because it's all exploratory, but if you don't do the first steps, you can't do the second. So I disagree with that part of transparency. But we do have a motion on the floor and a second, and I had 3 seconds, so.
To encourage everyone. I'm not accusing anyone of
Right.
anything nefarious. I'm just
Right.
saying that I think that we should be more educated
Well,
on
that's why
the
we're doing this
progress of
first step
things.
and going to then we will have more as the economic impact comes out this month, as the next steps come up. We will have a workshop. The university has to meet their requirements of the exploratory part until they get with the state. They have applied to the state, and that will be sometime in November. So there will be a lot of conversations going forward, as well as there already has been individual meetings with every council person that wanted it and been on it. So I think that we have a motion, a second, and I don't know, does the motioner or the seconder want to change anything? It's Councilman Schuessler or?
No, I would like to say that as much as possible, I understand that these things are big lifts, and that we need to be cognizant of the university, and they're doing their due diligence. And, as much as possible, I think that this has been a transparent process, that we are at an exploratory phase in it. Staff and Mr. Perry are just asking for an exploratory dialogue to continue. And so I would not like to amend my motion.
And do you want to pull Vice Mayor Coker, your second?
No, I'd keep my second.
All right, so we've had discussion. We'll start the vote in Ward 5 to
Yes.
approve. One,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4.
Yes.
Carries 5-0. Thank you very much, and great discussion, because that's one thing that's important to me, is that we do keep the discussion going and talk, and I appreciate all opinions, and about transparency to me is most important. One thing that I do want to say, though, is anybody that wants to see, once the press release is released, Ms. Shattuck has the final version of it. This is a pre-version without the city's contact and information on it. So it's the same exact thing, it'll just have more from the city part. So we appreciate it.
Mayor?
Yes, sir, Mr. Perry.
I do not want to belabor a point. I just want to point out something that deals with transparency. We are dealing with a sophisticated $100 million educational institution, and they have their protocols. And when their administration that is highly experienced in education finance, education programs, and the like, decides to, let's explore it, they still have a board to report to. If you look at the date of this release, it's today. It's August 13th, basically.
Tomorrow.
And there's, tomorrow. There's a reason for that, is because things have to happen in sequence, and their board needed to approve it. Just moving forward, the exploration. And I have to move the same way. So I am not criticizing or would never say that I'm offended by claiming that I had anything to do with transparency, because I'm professional enough to know that there's a sequence of timing that has to happen. And I would hope that you allow me, my team, the indulgence to do that. Because we can't go forward and come out and say, this is what we're doing, when their board doesn't even know it. Because they would be offended by it too if President Brusalis didn't do that. And again, we are exploring. That's all we're doing. So I will continue to work with you. I work with you well. I appreciate your input. I really do. And I understand what your points are to make sure that we thoroughly vet it. And we'll continue to do it. But as far as transparency goes, I try to be as transparent as I can, recognizing this competing interest of transparency within a professional business process.
Thank you, Mr. Perry.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
There is not any unfinished business on the agenda today.
All right, so council reports, we'll start in Ward.
Sorry, Mayor, we actually do have something on
Oh,
the,
we do have something, Mr. Williams? Oh, yes, you're right. Yes.
I missed it too, actually, Teresa, actually. It's the presentation just an informative or conversation about our utility payment system. And I have Ms. Armstrong here to be able to go over it real quickly. Just so you know, we're installing September 1st, we're installing a new utility payment system with the idea of additional features, improved convenience, and a much more user-friendly experience. And it's also in conjunction with my favorite new app, my Bradenton 311. So, Ms. Armstrong, take it away.
Good morning, Teresa Armstrong, IT Project Manager for the City of Bradenton. We are excited to announce the City of Bradenton is launching a new utility payment system on September 1st. This project supports the city's process improvement initiative to increase efficiency in our operations and enhance our resident services. Utility Access will be the new customer portal for utility billing. It's designed to offer additional features, improve convenience, and a more user-friendly experience for customers to manage their utility bill. This customer portal allows customers to log in and have everything displayed automatically for them with their account. They can link their accounts, save payment information, enroll in text to pay. There's an auto pay feature, and they schedule payments and sign up for payment reminders. It's in English and Spanish. Registering their account is optional. They don't have to. We have a quick pay option as well, as long as they have their account number that's on their bills. We'll still accept in-person and Dropbox payments at City Hall, so that's not changing, and they can mail in checks. We have additional information on the website, and we just want to make sure our residents were informed.
Okay, what? Okay, do we have any questions? What was the date that this was going to start?
September 1st.
September 1st. Wonderful.
And let me just also ask, the people that were previously doing like the direct payment to us, they're going to need to sign up again for this system, correct? Or
Correct.
does it just?
We want to encourage they will need to register one time just to have access, because it is a different system. But it's just the one time, and they still have the other convenience of the quick pay. They don't have to register, but we want to encourage them. It's a better features for them. They have better options. It's also free. So.
Also inclusive in the app. Did we
My
mention
Bradenton
that?
311, there will be a link. They'll have to sign in again, though, once they go in, if they are currently registered for My Bradenton 311, because this is redirecting them to a financial payment system, we would want it to be secure, they will need to sign in again. So just so you understand, in case you get questions.
So after September 1st, you'd need to re-sign in.
Beginning September 1st. It will be available September 1st.
Right, we are advertising it currently in the utility bills, so we wanted to bring it to council just as awareness. Obviously, what's going on, just in case you did have a constituent call you or ask you about it as well. So you'll see a message on your utility bill that it's coming. So, that's it. Go ahead. Step up to the microphone. And then-
Come to the microphone and introduce who you are,
Exactly.
how long you've worked for the city, and all the other things. Ms. Shy.
Heidi Warnamundi, I'm the finance director. I've been here for almost 5 years now. This really will be so much better for the user. The portal is super easy to use. We went in there and looked around, and I think everybody will really like it. It's just going to really help us bring our system into the current times. So, which Teresa has worked really hard trying to get all of our systems into the current times. So, thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right.
Any other
Okay.
questions?
No, but I do have an apology for our city clerk, because I kind of jumped the gun a little bit. My fault. It is my fault. Yeah, it was under department heads, and I jumped it. I thought it was under new business, so I do apologize. But if you guys have any questions, please let us know. Obviously, I'm always available. Ms. Warmonday, Ms. Armstrong are available as well. This role, I can remember 12 years ago, we didn't even have online payments.
Couldn't use credit card then?
No.
A credit card? Can I use credit
Exactly. Yeah, can I use a credit card? But we eventually got to, in a very quirky way, got to be able to do online payments using multiple different systems by multiple different vendors. And this really brings it in-house under one vendor that we currently have anyways. The technology is much better. The appearance is much better. The end-user experience, much smoother. You're able to use, in our old system, we couldn't use credit cards, quite frankly, for, if you wanted to make the auto payments, you can do that now. It'll still call you when you like your, yeah, the old system did. I know.
Yeah,
I
you
know.
quit calling.
I know. So, but anyways, a much better experience. So again, we're advertising a utility bill. We just wanted to get it in front of council just in case you did have some constituents that may have brought it up to you or asked questions about it. And so, again, if you have any questions, please let us know.
Yeah, yesterday I gave a talk to a realtors group that more is kind of landlords, and it's about 30 people were in the room, and they buy and sell properties, which we know that we changed our system, and I brought up several of them own numerous properties in the city, and a lot of them in Ward 4, and I brought up some of the changes. I elephant in the room, if you want to bring it, about how we changed a few years back when we had, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more, of the bad debt from that. And I said we had to change the system and put it on the property owner, which a lot of landlords don't like that, because then they're responsible if their patron doesn't pay or their renter doesn't pay. And I was waiting for, when I said it, for the Spears to come back at me, but they weren't. They go, no, we understand it, but it was about information at first, and I think this is getting the information out. And then I also said one of the things that I've noticed, and Mr. Perry and I have driven around and seen this in different wards, but some of the wards that were with our sanitation pickup, even though there's some angst going on with that right now, we're trying to figure out all the logistical things, is we had to change because we couldn't be picking up for the whole county. And that's what was happening. People that own properties were bringing it from their outside and putting all the debris in the front of a rental property, And I mean, I think you see it, Mrs. Moore, that driving down Second,
was great.
you don't see near as much as you did
Yeah.
years ago. And it wasn't to punish people, it was to try to help clean up our city. And I think that's something that it's tough at the beginning with change, but sometimes, as Ms. Barnaby will say, and I'll leave her saying to her about the baby, but you've got to change sometimes. So I appreciate that. And this is change for improvement, and there may be a little hiccups at first, but we'll get through it. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
All right,
And
thank
thank
you,
you,
ladies.
Mr. Williams, and we accept your apology.
Thank you. Well, it was
On behalf
really
of-
directed at one person, right?
Reading
All right,
is fundamental.
council reports, Ward 3.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Comments this morning are pretty brief. Back to school. With students heading back to school this week, I want to wish all of our students, teachers, administrators, and families a safe and successful school year. I'd also like to remind everyone to, with the roads being a little bit busier in the mornings and afternoons, to please slow down, be especially mindful around our schools and crosswalks, and keep an eye out for students walking and biking to school and for our school buses. I know the start of a school year can be exciting and a little bit hectic for families, so I want to thank our teachers, school staff, crossing guards, law enforcement, first responders, and everyone else who helps keep our children safe. And to all of our students heading back to the classroom, have a great year, work hard, be kind to one another, and make Bradenton proud.
Thank you. Councilwoman Moore.
I have a couple of things to share, but before I do, and not to belabor the point, but I think it's important that I say this in public, I'm not accusing anyone of anything nefarious. Like I said from the outset, I'm not accusing anyone of doing anything inappropriate or illegal or anything of that nature, as happens sometimes when I bring up either something unpleasant or a criticism of any kind. I don't want to be misconstrued as being accusatory. It's a cautionary measure. As Mr. Perry frequently says, he doesn't want to get ahead of his skis. That's what I would like to see not happen in that particular instance. Let's not get ahead of our skis. That is the point that I was trying to make. But I didn't want to just say that in private because it's a public meeting, and I wanted to make that open to the public. As you all know, the rains have been absolutely horrible. I know it's not just Ward 4. I'm super aware, especially with the emergency procurement report, that there are other pockets that have been suffering quite a bit with the rain. And I wish it was a more positive report. But I will just, I think it's important for all of you all to know, for the rest of the city, that Ward 4 is suffering a little bit with the inundation of rain. Unfortunately, because of the stormwater issues that we have, we get a lot of seepage into the collection system that causes the lift stations to not function the way they're supposed to. And overall, it just looks kind of icky. So I would like to, I'm just sharing it just to keep you all informed. But moving forward, as we think about projects and grant money and that sort of thing, now that I think we have done a really great job of pushing forward and momentum with sewer and potable water, I would like to see us also kind of move, do what we can do, even if it's little things. The water's going to do what the water wants to do, and I know it'll never be perfect. We're always going to be dealing with the water, but just little things to help people's quality of life, because it's kind of a soggy mess right now in 4. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, can you give us an update on our CDBG DR money, what we're looking forward to bring to this council in the near future?
Yeah, we have a list of projects, obviously, that we presented earlier in the year that we're really kind of fine-tuning with staff and looking at the certain requirements that HUD provides that you have to be able to meet in order to qualify for this funding. So in looking at all those projects, LMI is one. You have to be able to tie back to the storm. Those are the 2 major qualifiers. So we have identified several projects that will kind of mitigate some of what Councilwoman Moore is discussing, that we'll bring back to council to show the logic behind the list, if you will. And then we'll get that over to Manatee County, who's been interesting to work with. But It's new for all of us, so we're getting through it. And we have a great team internally that has helped with Mr. Giddens and our partners at Woodard and Kern that have kind of helped navigate through it as well. So I think you guys will be appreciative of the list that we brought. It's very thoughtful, and again, it has a lot of the tiebacks and qualifiers that we need to qualify for the HUD
Which will
funds.
benefit probably Ward 4 more than anything.
Correct.
So, and again, sometimes we can't talk about things outside of it. And knowing what's happening is very important. And that's why I wanted, when you mentioned that, and not only Ward 4, every ward, or whatever they call them, in Palmetto, in St. Pete, all up the west coast that I know and talking to people, when we have 2+ inches of rain in less than 30 minutes from, just say, our city boundaries east to our city boundaries west, there is no silver bullet to fix that. But we are trying to mitigate every day, and I'm proud from the last 6 years of what we've been able to get. And some of it is because of hurricanes, unfortunately, but some of that also, as Mr. Perry said earlier, also speeds up other things that we don't expect that we have to bring. So it is a process, and again, it's not as quick as I want. I want to get that money and spend it boots on the ground. But obviously, the biggest boots on the ground right now are in Ward 4, and hopefully, I'll say this publicly now, I'd like to have some sort of neighborhood meeting over there about Lift Station 3 and where we are at, whether we do a workshop here or what, very soon, of where we are at with the millions of dollars that's being spent on those lift stations in Ward 4, as well as some of the issues that come up with stormwater and that, which is being worked through DOT, because a lot of that, as we know, Manatee Avenue is one of the higher parts, and it flows towards the river. So you could mitigate the high parts. It's hard to mitigate the low parts when you have that much rain and the saturation. So I think that's a great conversation, and we will be setting that up.
Just one more quick comment, Mr. Mayor. That's a great idea as far as the community meeting, but we also, I believe it's September 17th, Colonel, that we're going to have a kind of a public opening for a lot of the projects that we have going on, similarly that we did a while back. So obviously everybody's welcome. All of our engineers and project managers will be there, the administration along with Colonel Lee and his staff. So it's really just kind of showing the public what are we doing. You know, a lot of the things that we're working on, and we talk about a lot of projects that a lot of work gets done before you ever see anybody in the field. So this gives everybody an opportunity. You know, obviously council is aware, but it gives our constituents an opportunity in the public to see what are we doing and how far along is it. And so it would be a great segue to that as well.
But as we saw yesterday at our meeting in Ironwood, with the project that they're actually self-funding,
right,
we're just helping them get that self-funding through. The majority of the people in the room hadn't been at previous meetings until they got the money part of it. Then they wanted to ask us why we were doing it. And so until it affects you directly, we understand people don't show. When we had the meeting there for the first part of it at the Manatee United Methodist Church, and we had a great staff meeting and a few family members meeting, and nobody else showed up.
Right.
You know, but that's why we have those, and that's why, you know, I'll say this too. When I first got on the council in 2013, first thing I said, let's have some night meetings. And I know that's been discussed over all the years. We had less people at the night meetings than we did the morning meetings, and it was costing us extra money. So, you know, I always said as mayor, if we ever have something that's that drastic that's going to be easier for a night meeting, we can switch it. But to do it at a cost, especially in today's, every penny counts to help with those other things. We've got to keep working that. So let's learn from the past and keep moving forward for the future. So thank you for that, Mr. Williams. Councilwoman Coachman.
Thank you. Just for clarification, we were having a discussion about Point Park, and I said that sometimes one project will put another project on halt. I wasn't talking about Tarpon Point. Okay, just to let you know. Thank you, Councilman Schuschler, for the best wishes about the start of school.
Absolutely.
This is day 3, and I'm not there. Yay. No, I'm just kidding. I really wanted to be there. Things have gone well so far, at least on my side of the building. I've heard other sides may not be so lucky, but that's okay with me. Not a whole lot I'm going to bring up, because pretty much every time we talk about something, it's talking about something going on in Ward 5, so you definitely know Ward 5 is alive. I just want to say, kind of reiterate that now that school is back, not only is traffic horrible, kids are being kids, so really be careful as you're driving, not just in the school zones, but the sidewalks and areas that lead up to the schools as well. So, Ward 5 is alive.
Thank you, Councilwoman Coachman. Again, going back to my meeting yesterday with the 30 kind of real estate businesses and property owners and that, they were very excited about City Park because,
I meant to say something.
yeah, but I'm saying with they see it now, and I told them to drive by. One of the opportunities with investors sometimes, I mean, we want home ownership, but some of them aren't going to get home ownership. One of the things they were excited, which would spill into Ward 4 and 5 right there, or excuse me, 3 and 5, is South Village. Because if they can start to get some of that, because a lot of them are flippers too. So if they fix them up with knowing what's happening there, and again, with 9th, I think has an opportunity as well as all the rest. They were excited. So some of these things you don't think about at the moment come back to say, wow, we did this, but it grew that. And that's where I think the walkability in the downtown from Lecom, Village of the Arts, Main Street, the Arts, Avenue of the Arts, all the way over to Old Manatee, having to go through Tarpon Point will be a great opportunity. And some of us might not see it in our lifetimes up here, but if we don't start that, it doesn't get finished. So I think there's, yesterday going, not knowing what I was going to talk about, once I started talking and realized how everything plays together. So thank you, appreciate that. Ward 1, Vice Mayor Coker.
Thank you. Well, yes, it's been said, back to school. I do want to wish all the kids a very successful year, and the teachers and staff and administration. I do hope everyone will slow down, and of course, if not, we're going to take your picture, and BPD will be contacting you, so please go slow. The kids are one of our best assets, and we want to keep them safe. Also, early voting has started. I want to encourage everyone to get out there and vote. The actual primary day is August the 18th, but I think it's very easy to go and early vote now. So check. GT Bray has been doing pretty good. So hopefully everybody get out and vote. And I want to bring up, there's been a lot of, I hate discussing social media, but there's been a lot of discussion surrounding the causeway, and we are working on an ordinance. I would like to kind of know where we are with all that. But a lot of some of the issues are the unintended result of the island kicking all those vendors off. And I strongly feel that our waterways are a public asset, and I don't think that only the people who are fortunate enough to live directly on the water should have the use. And so I don't want to outlaw the ability to do these things, but I can appreciate that we have to have control, and public safety has to be priority. But this isn't going to be a kick them all off either, I hope. So I do know y'all are working on it, and a lot of things have to be considered, and we don't want to have our own unintended consequences, but I just want to say that I'd like to hear an update whenever we have one.
I think some reason Chief Kramer has become the spokesperson on the emails for that, that go back and forth. So Chief Kramer.
Thank you, sir. I've been a recipient of the emails, and
You answered one.
I forwarded, talked with Mr. Rudisil today. I'll be forwarding everything to him. And you may be able to speak a little bit more on the potential of an ordinance, but one thing we're looking at is there is existing state law. It's just managing what's administrative law versus something we could be actually able to really enforce versus code enforcement. So I'll defer to the esteemed city attorney.
Yes, we do have a draft ordinance prepared that's being reviewed by the different staff departments right now. It's, you know, there are a lot of considerations with what we're doing and how it impacts, you know, potentially other things in other areas. So we're trying to make sure that we're doing it right. But yes, I mean, I think the intent is that it would be a permitting process just to make sure that, you know, people are set up in the right places, we're keeping things safe and organized and things like that. So that's the intent.
All right, did you have anything else? I know, Ms. Coker, are you done?
No.
Okay, Ms. Barnaby?
Mr. Rudisil, for years and years and years and years and years, we were told the only thing that we could do out there is enforce traffic law, pretty much. The police could keep order and enforce a traffic law. And then suddenly, someone said, oh, but if the city of Bradenton wants to do this, they can do this. Are we sure we really have the ability to do it now? Because, again, I don't understand how it switched so directly, so quickly.
Well, I think a lot of the discussion in the past was specific to the horses, and the horses are deemed a mode of transportation by DOT, and so that makes things a little bit different in how we deal with the horses on the causeway. But there is a statute that deals with operating businesses on state right-of-way. And so that's what we're looking at and utilizing to implement a permitting program, because the statute actually allows the local government to issue permits for those types of commercial activities on state right-of-way.
Well, and I appreciate you bringing that up, because you're absolutely right. Initially, we were talking about the horses out there.
Correct.
I just don't want I don't want the residents that came to us and were concerned about the horses out there, and we were limited at that time by what we might be able to do and what we could not do, to think that we didn't care and we weren't looking into it, because we had been told we could not kind of manage that at that point in time. But if there's a statute that's going to allow us to turn it, hopefully not into, I mean, when you're driving down there, it's a beautiful area. People are driving way faster than they probably should, and we've asked the state to lower that speed limit, and they haven't chosen to. And then you've got, you know, it kind of looks like a thieves market there. There's all this stuff. And it takes away, I think, from the natural beauty, and I think it also, again, it makes it difficult to transverse it if you live out there or you work out there and you're just trying to get back to your home or to where you work, because you've got all of this stuff going on and all of these people, and then you put the tourists into the mix, and it's like, oh, Martha, let's do that, and then they just turn off and bam. So I'm happy if you believe we have the ability now to deal with some of that stuff. I'm happy to hear about it.
Thank you. Anything else, Ms. Barnaby?
Well, I have my council report.
Okay, so we're in that now.
Okay. One of the things that I've been thinking about recently is, as we get ready to leave this building, and we have approved a lot of events and things that happen in downtown, the construction that may go on can affect those events. So I think that we might want to be asking the staff that work with the events and work with the event committee to give them the flexibility to say, you've brought this forward, we're not sure when we're leaving the area, we're not sure when demolition and construction is going to begin. The council has given you approval, but if something comes up, we are going to have to get with you to possibly change a run route or the event space around Baccarata. So, I mean, it's just something that, having done events down here myself over the years, I think getting that information out sooner to people, that flexibility is going to be key.
Yes, I'll answer that real quick. Kelly and I talked quite a bit about that. And Mr. Perry, Mr. Williams and I have been in discussions with some of the developer here. So we probably will have an update within a few weeks on that. So timing right now with any events that are planned out will not be affected, but we'll let you know as soon as we know. And then also, the goal would be, in my opinion, is not to, because they don't really stage on this property, but it shouldn't affect the streets around us very much.
Understood. I'm more concerned about the different runs that happen and the way that we have an approved run route depending upon the distance, whether it's a 5K, 10K, et cetera. Those could, having participated in a Jingle Bell Run, when CSX came in and tore up the railroad crossings, because, as I had to remind Mr. Orhowski, railroad lands are sovereign lands, and the city didn't tear that up, the CSX did. Having been in a construction zone because they did not know CSX was gonna come in and rip up the route, it was kind of dicey.
No, we've been talking about that, and again, it's staging and how things will go, but that will all come in the very near future.
Okay. Yesterday, we had a very good event with the Ironwood Pinebrook neighborhood. I'd like to thank all of the staff for being there and for all of the support that went into that. I think that we answered a lot of questions dealing with that project, and I think it was something important to do, and I just want to thank you all for participating as you did. And Mayor, thank you for coming as well. What else do I have? Okay. We have had several employees and a retiree impacted by losing family members. So I would like to send my sympathy to the families of Karen Lanke and Karen Kaiser and retired firefighter Michael Lowe on losing his wife. And trying to end on a happy note, September 2nd, a very young 92-year-old Ruby Bird is going to celebrate her birthday. And is someone that has done a lot for this community. And we just want to wish her a happy birthday on September the 2nd. And then my niece Emily that I helped raise is turning 27 on September 5th. So happy birthday, Emily.
Good, thank you, Ms. Barnaby. Well, I don't know if I helped raise my son or not, but he'll be 35 this month, so. He raised us more than anything, I think, during his high school years, would say funny that. But no, and to go along with Ms. Barnaby's, with the passing of our staff members and others in our community, just the sympathy to the family, and obviously there's a lot of people that pass when they're suffering, and it's a blessing, but it's hard when you lose somebody. And we all celebrate anniversaries, good or bad, celebration of life. And my mom passed away 4 years ago last week, but she's in a better place and those things. So you think about that, and you think about what we do up here every day. It's the fun things that we're hopefully setting up for generationally down the road. Even though we don't always sometimes agree certain ways to do things, I think we all have the heart for our city, and that's important. And that's what, I appreciate the comments about, this may be what Ms. Coachman said about, it's a very get along and really work together and try to progress our city for the future in all 14.4 square mile boundaries while celebrating the community, which is Manatee County at large. So I appreciate that. The one thing that I think we need to really work on is really, and communication-wise, and I say that, is there's so many sunshine laws that you try not to, and every community deals with it. So I think it's important. But the one thing I did want to say is Ms. Coker brought up about the election next week, August 18th. A lot of people get confused. We are nonpartisan. So our election isn't until November 3rd. So if you go to the ballot and don't see the council members up there who's on it this year, don't panic, because we've done that in the past, and sometimes people said, well, you're not on it, what's wrong? And so just for the public, that's a primary, because we are winner take all, and both of our races that are up only have 2 people, so you'll definitely get 50+1 whoever wins that. So don't worry if we're not on it. This one will be on the one in November. And back to school, Thank you to Chief Kramer, Chief Canaday, and I know our EMS were out there. The school district was out there. And, you know, first couple days, we always have a little bit more presence to get people to realize to slow down. And I'm not, knock on wood, that the traffic seems a little lighter in some areas this year. And hopefully it'll stay that way. Because we know the first couple days, it's always busier. And then it kind of pulls back. So keeping that. And Chief Kramer, I just want to say to the public that's out there, and Chief Thiers does a great job because he's our kind of traffic guy when we call him without the lights. But our lights downtown are synced. Every once in a while, lightning hits or something happens and they get off kilter a little bit, but they are synced. If they're off kilter, let us know, and we call DOT, and they can usually reset them pretty quickly. But during the first week of school, patience is a virtue in this part of it. But thank you to all the police officers that were extra duty out there, firefighters, and EMS. I know, I think they just started that last year, which was a good thing to see. But this year they were out and just slow down, be good. Obviously, our numbers were spread out from what happened last year, and from the beginning of the year and all, the tickets went down because people started paying attention. And, you know, it's important to pay attention in a school zone all day because kids are in and out at different times and field trips and things. So thank you to all that, and I appreciate today's meeting. And now we'll go to department head reports. Anything, Mr. Williams?
Again, I'd like to apologize to our city clerk for I owe you lunch.
All right, anything else?
I think,
Colonel Lee?
Yeah, Colonel Lee would like to.
We know if Colonel Lee's jumping up, it's very important, so.
Yes, sir. Irvin Lee, Director of Public Works and Utilities. No credit cards needed for this, sir.
Okay, good.
Tomorrow, Saturday, from 8 to noon, we'll be distributing sandbags and water.
Tarps?
And a tarp, that's
Tarps,
correct.
yeah, one tarp,
Thank you
so.
for that. So if, I don't, knock on wood, and if you've looked at the National Hurricane Center website, there is a little something there. I don't want to.
We're only doing this as a precautionary thing
right.
to get in advance of it. And your
Preparation.
10 bags, the water and the tarp, you know, obviously the water will last a little longer. The sandbags usually only last about a season because of the sun on them, unless you keep them somewhere in the shade covered.
That is absolutely correct.
Right.
Absolutely correct. So these sandbags are in fairly good shape.
Right.
Since we've had them for 2 years.
Right. We didn't need them last year.
Yes, sir. But just again,
all right.
come out, have coffee with us, and we'll give you
We appreciate it.
And
And
water and a tarp.
Thank you. Anything else? Hearing none, then we'll be adjourned. Thank you.